One I've found that really, really works well and people love sharing a lot is these little mini infographics. So quite often I share a mini infographic.
Oh, look at that cute infographic. Oh, 2014. You were a different graphic time. Hello, you fine people, and welcome to Nicole Reacts, where I, Nicole, react to online marketing gurus on the internet. My qualifications for Snark are that I've owned a marketing company for the last 14 years. In addition to working with clients at that marketing company, I also have 2 other non-marketing businesses. So I've seen marketing both on the agency owner providing services side of things, as well as the small business owner needing side of things. Hey guys, it's Editing Nicole with 2 pieces of, housekeeping news before this video starts. First of all, just so you know, I am going to have a lot of chaos in my life personally. I'm going to be a lot of different locations for a few weeks, including moving apartments. So I banked a lot of these episodes ahead of time so that I could keep with the channel publication schedule. So yeah, that's fun. And I also noticed Jeff Bullas says this is important a lot. I didn't really notice it when I was editing this first video, but I noticed when I was recording the second video. So I don't want to go back and add all the counts in because publication schedule, craziness in my life. So I will be doing that count for part 2. So if you notice that and are wondering why I'm not counting, it's coming in part 2. And the third thing is a friend of the channel, Zoe, and I'll link their social media channels below. They apparently like my videos, which is awesome. And they're in Australia, and they made us a Nicole Reacts bingo card, which is awesome. So I'm going to link to it below if you want to play along with the bingo, have fun, and check out Zoe's work. It looks like they do a lot of work with kind of coaching people, helping people get better at videos. So the fact that they like my videos is super flattering to me. So thank you, Zoe. And if, please leave comments. And even getting this email from Zoe was super fun. Sometimes I feel like I'm just putting these out there and I get that 20 or 40 people watch them, but hearing from you guys is so great. So feel free to reach out with guru ideas or any other ideas that you have, like Zoe's bingo card, chef's kiss. It's wonderful. All right, let's get this started. So today's person is Jeff Bullas, who's Australian, something I learned while prepping for this video. And he has been sort of in the online space about as long as I have, 2007, 2008 sounds like. And I kind of know him from his blog, which he's had for a really long time. And I think I was a subscriber of his email newsletter for a while. Maybe I've downloaded one of his ebooks and thought, this is fine. I would classify him similarly to Seth Godin or Amy Porterfield, which is that, he says some stuff that to me seems kind of obvious. I feel like at least Seth Godin has more stories. I feel like this guy talks a lot in general marketing platitudes, like talk about stuff clearly. And, social media is a way that people connect to each other. And I don't know, I guess I like to get right into it in terms of my content, but it seems like a lot of people do like this guy, and he does seem to be sort of respected as a marketer. Now, the other part of Jeff that is kind of a little bit different from the previous gurus we've talked about here in the Nicole Reacts series is that he seems to also kind of have a foot in the door for more technical topics like website usability, search engine optimization kind of stuff. Like a Neil Patel, he's on the list too. We just haven't got to him yet. So I thought it would be an interesting foray to not only talk about a real marketing person after looking at a bunch of these MLM people, but also to kind of see a training that's more geared at websites and less at social media, because that is part of marketing. There's a general idea called content marketing. And what that means is producing content, and that content would attract people to you. So we think about things like social media posts, but we can think about longer format content like a course or an ebook. Content marketing is just kind of the general term for that sort of stuff. And it seems like that is sort of Jeff's wheelhouse, especially as a blogger and someone who's been blogging for a long time. So while Jeff is known as kind of being a blogger and he's on all these marketing top whatever lists for kind of being a thought leader in marketing, he has a whole page on his website about being a speaker. He has a couple of profiles on speaker websites where people look for speakers. So I am expecting a lot from this presentation because it seems like he does want to be a professional speaker at least part of the time. So today's a YouTube video. It's called 5 Key Strategies to Grow Your Web Traffic. As usual, we'll link to the original video in the show notes, as well as any other resources we reference. I take pride in trying to have really good show notes. So I hope you appreciate that as well. Today's video is 4 key strategies to grow your web traffic. It's about an hour long. I'm probably going to divide this video into a couple of parts. So this video is from 2016 and it's a little old, just acknowledging that. But at the same time, while sort of website traffic and techniques have changed slightly over time, some things are still true from 2016, and we'll be able to evaluate, I think, based on what we know now and what we knew back in 2016, whether we think that, whether his predictions are right if he makes them, or whether his strategies are on point, because I was probably using similar ones in 2016 if they are. So without further ado, let's hear from Jeff about growing our website traffic.
Hi there, everyone, and a very warm welcome. I'm Tom Poland. It's my pleasure to be a host today for Jeff Bullas. Jeff is internationally renowned and recognized blogger. He's also an author, a strategist, and he's a speaker. Works with companies and executives to optimize their online personal and company brands with digital content and social media marketing. He certainly walks the talk. He's the #1 content marketer, influencer from 6 million plus dating.
I think it's really interesting that the audio is moderately terrible. Listen, I don't have a really nice microphone, but I do have a close to me microphone that's separate from my webcam. I think the pandemic made us all kind of step up our AV game a bit, but yeah, I'll be curious what Jeff's sound is like if it's being recorded from Jeff's end versus the speaker's end. And maybe that's why the person introducing him sounds like a little bit like he's in a tunnel.
The web updates awarded that in 2015, very recently by Opinions. He's listed as the #1 content marketer influenced by Analytica, and also last year ranked #8 on Forbes, the top 40 social marketing talents. #1 content marketer influencer globally in 2014, and the list just goes on and on.
So I think there's a certain kind of brand of marketer that sort of chases these awards. Clearly, I think Jeff is one of them. And I think that that's fine. I'm just acknowledging that just because you're not like ranked nationally or globally at something doesn't mean you're bad at it. It just means you maybe didn't apply to the award or whatever. So just putting that out there.
New York Times, Huffington Post, some of the biggest and best known publications in the world awarded by, have presented Jeff's with the top 10 awards or top award. Blog receives over 5 million web page views per year and has written over 200.
Just going to check something really quick. You ever want to independently verify sort of traffic sources, and overall trends of a larger traffic website online? There is a resource called similarweb.com. So I went to similarweb.com. Okay, I'm doing this in May of 2022, and I typed in jeffbullas.com, and I pulled up this report. So as you see here, it's showing us traffic over the course of 3 months. I'm not sure why it's showing us March, because we're definitely in May as I record this, but maybe it takes a while for the data to come in or something, or maybe if we paid to have a similar web account, we would get access to more recent traffic data. But as we see here, in general, it seems like he gets 200,000 visits a month. So if we multiplied that by 12 months, that's less than 2 million. And if we look at the overall trend of the website, we see that traffic is going down. And at the beginning of this recording, the host mentioned that he got Marketer of the Year for 2014. I mean, you can't stay on top forever, right? That's just how the internet game goes. You can use this similarweb.com to look up any website. You can see its overall traffic. You can see the sources of the traffic, and it will suggest to you websites that are similar to this website. And what's funny is, at the beginning of this, I said, this guy's a lot like Neil Patel in that he's a marketer, but he also kind of goes tech. Neil Patel is one of the similar websites. So there you go. Anyway, thanks for going on that aside journey with me. Let's continue.
Other countries, I didn't even know there were 200 countries. So that's why I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted that Jeff accepted my invitation to come and present on 5 key strategies to grow your web traffic. Without further ado, Jeff, the floor is yours. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Tom, for the introduction and for hosting this webinar today.
And yeah, to answer your question, this little character guy, this is Jeff Bullas's logo, and he's used it for a really long time, which is why it looks probably kind of dated, if it looks dated to you, because it looks dated to me.
Welcome to everyone from all around the world, and today we're going to be looking at 5 key strategies to grow your web traffic without paying Google or Facebook a cent. And this is basically insights on how I grew my traffic from zero when I started in 2009. And when I started, I had no traffic. But first, I'm going to tell a little bit about me, just so we're sitting at the edge of screens here, peering into them, and it's very hard to touch and feel and get to know someone. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things about me that you maybe don't know, and just a bit of fun. I like wearing Lycra, guys, because I'm a road cyclist. So we just came back from South Africa and did the Argus, which is the biggest road cycle event, measured one in the world, 37,000 riders. And I love my road cycling, keeps me fit and gives me the energy I need to run the business and do the riding. So that's a little bit about me. Also, I am known for taking selfies sometimes from stage when doing keynotes. This is one from Mumbai.
Yeah, actually, I remember this about him.
By India at a blogging conference. And yep, that's just me having a bit of fun. So it was a great event, and so that's a little bit about me. I started in 2009 with just a $10 domain name investment, and since then it's been a really interesting ride. I had no traffic when I started, as all of us do. We all start from zero.
As somebody who started from zero in 2007, it is a lot different starting from zero now. There's just more websites out there. So I'll be curious how much privilege he'll admit to getting on the internet at sort of a key point, which is kind of like that 2005 to 2010 period of time where there wasn't a ton of people on Facebook. There wasn't a lot going on with different social media platforms, where basically blogs were kind of it, as the cool thing to have. So I'll be curious if he sort of alludes to the fact that if you maybe try to have similar growth now, that you might have a harder time, not only because you're competing with more channels where content is being posted, but also there's just more websites.
And I managed to grow my Twitter followers and also be nominated by Forbes as one of the top social media influencers. And we're approaching 20 million visitors since I launched in 2009. So just a little bit about me. Now, we all have challenges, right? And life.
This is such a early aughts thing to do with your slides, is to use these, I don't know, stock photo things and kind of add levity to your presentations with the stock photo and the little caption. I feel like I don't see this a lot anymore. This is throwback slide design stuff, but yeah.
Is a challenge. And this, when we all start our blog or we start a website and we're trying to attract visitors, because in this digital world, if you don't get traffic, nothing happens. You really got to get traffic to your website. And this is the biggest challenge. It's just that little or no traffic. And it's frustrating for everyone. A lot of us don't have the big budgets to go and pay Facebook ads or do Google AdWords to get that traffic. So you got to go out and earn it. So this is the biggest challenge for a lot of us, is that when you start, you've got that little or no traffic, and it's very frustrating. And with 1 billion websites and counting, it's really difficult to get that breakthrough, that all that noise and clutter and data. So, you've got to get traffic, and that's the biggest challenge for us when we start. A lot of us have little or no time. We live in a time-poor world, and we've got to learn how to be productive and focused and, use our time wisely and well. And, so that's a big challenge for a lot of us. The other one that has happened is that organic traffic from Facebook has dropped to almost nothing these days. And now, one of the things that attracted me to social media when I started the blog and I started writing about social media and digital marketing is that you could actually publish and reach the world and attract traffic. And, that was, really, really exciting. The ability to bypass the gatekeepers. You didn't have to beg for attention from journalists to get, your articles out there. You could start your own blog and you could actually start publishing and start building your own online attention. It was a democratization of both publishing and marketing and even entrepreneurship. We're seeing this democratization of almost anything, and that's what this social web has given us. And this excited me when I saw Facebook and Twitter emerging. I went, wow, I can actually reach the world from my own home office or from a coffee shop without paying people.
So this is one of my pet peeves with some marketing presentations, is that if someone is, just getting started, or if somebody is looking for up-to-date information, they don't care that Facebook has changed a bunch between, when it started and now, right? So yeah, organic traffic dropped on Facebook. Well, we all kind of saw that coming, right? Because they were just trying to get us all to sign up. And once they had a big enough pool, they were going to start obviously pushing ads more. So every platform seems to do this. It starts off really cool, kind of, there's a lot of organic stuff happening. People join, and when it gets to a certain size, then they monetize, or they start monetizing more, right? So I feel like spending part of the presentation being annoyed that things don't work the way they used to. Nobody cares. Like, they want to know, okay, well, what do I do about it now? So I'll be curious how much longer he talks about lamenting that Facebook doesn't drive traffic like it used to anymore.
For that. And I saw this, what was happening with social media was this incredible, I suppose, obsessiveness about social. And it's still today is that we are even obsessed with not only social, but our mobile phones. So one of these charms of social media was getting, traffic without paying for it. But Facebook changed the rules when it went public. Someone had to pay their employees, and nothing wrong with that. So what's had to happen is we've had to evolve how we get traffic. So this is a challenge, basically trying to use social media as well as possible so we actually get traffic from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. But now the other one we're struggling to get discovered online. We're all, have this problem. As I mentioned before, there's last count, there was 1 billion websites. And so getting discovered is one of your...
So I don't want to sound like an old geezer, but back in the day, sourcing photos for things like presentations was a thing. Now, in 2022, we have royalty-free photo websites, which are awesome. But back then, we would have to license photos, right? And I can't remember how much it would cost for credits with, iStock Photo or Getty Images or whatever. But sometimes you'd pay like $5 or $10 for a photo. And obviously, if you needed photos for like a presentation or a series of blog posts or something, that could get pretty expensive. And so we had to get kind of clever. And there was a period of time where in a lot of my presentations, I used photos from the public domain. So they were like historical photos like this one. And I'm wondering if that's why he's using photos like some of the ones he's showing in this presentation. Just kind of a throwback to, you would look through all these, historical photos that were in the public domain and find ones that sort of worked with what you were talking about. So I think that might be what's going on here. So this is like my old school 2010 presentations here.
Your biggest challenges. So that's what you have to do. But there's no way of getting around it. That's what you've got to do. And the other one is you just get frustrated by the lack of progress that you're making. You're going, well,
look at that stock photo. Wow, that is a stock photo. I bet there is a series of photos of this woman on a stock photo website doing different things with her computer, like maybe like shouting at her computer and maybe like crying in front of her computer and things like that. We used to, when we had to use these stock photo collections at the newspaper, we had a few like licenses with like Adobe or whatever. And occasionally when one of us was looking for a photo, we'd find this like absolute gem of a group of photos. Like, you know, we would find like 20 photos of this woman with her computer and we would just share them around. We didn't publish them anywhere. We just share them internally. But yeah, anyway.
When can I break through? And for me, I understand that perfectly, because when I started, you know, it took me 6 months to start to get meaningful traffic. Like initially when I published, no one knew I existed. There's only 5 visitors a week, 5 a day. You know, then it went up to 100 a day. And then, but you just got to persist. There is no way around this.
Yeah. And you know what? You might persist for 14 years. By the way, guys, I had a daily blog for like 5 years. I had a 3 times weekly blog for like 5 years. You know, it's all on the Breaking Even site if you want to go back and look at it. I tried different post links. I tried all this stuff. Sometimes your blog just isn't going to take off. Like you're not going to get 5 million visitors in a year, no matter how hard you work at it. Because I was coming up the same time period. I was SEOing like this guy is probably going to talk about, you know, doing search engine stuff to it. I was building inbound links into it. I was doing all the things I was supposed to be doing. And it got traffic, but I never got like famous. I never got to be like a famous blogger. So I'm just saying that you can persist and see success in your own way. In my case, my success was being able to start a business and quit my job from it. But I was never, you know, going to be making millions of dollars on my blog. I think when I looked up this company, it says it's $15 million. We're not there yet. And I don't know if I'll ever be there, to be honest. So just saying, if you persist, that's great. But just because you persist does not mean you will become famous. I watched people start after me and just go boom right past me. And I don't know, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Maybe I wasn't lucky enough. Maybe I could have been a better writer. I will never know, but just throwing that out there.
But I want to paint a picture of what I call the overall traffic landscape on the web. And
my God, these graphics are like so old school.
Essentially, there are 3 types of traffic. And I use this diagram to explain it. And it's really important that you actually understand how this works. All right. Now, you can go and pay for traffic. All right.
I've seen this graph before, but I've seen it say paid media, earned media, and owned media. So I've seen it used with the word media instead of the word traffic. So if you've seen that too, this is basically the same thing he's going to explain.
That's fine. Okay, so Facebook ads, Google AdWords, and you can drive them to your website or your blog. Okay. Now,
TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, all these things have ad platforms. In addition, you can also do ads other places. You can do display ads at events or something like that on, you know, billboards that connect in with the Wi-Fi of the arena or whatever. So there is different kinds of traffic you can get. Yes, on social media websites with paid ads, but there's also ways you can pay for ads that aren't necessarily on social media. Just throwing that out there.
A lot of people just go and do this. They go and basically do a $20 sponsored post on Facebook, and they drive traffic. But you've got to be careful if you're doing that and paying for it. You've got to make sure that you're measuring the traffic. In other words, if you're spending $20, you just don't want to be spending $20 just to get traffic. You want to.
Yeah, if I could ban boost post from Facebook, it gives people an artificial sense of like how well they're doing. They're like, oh, I spent $5 and I got another 1,000 people to look at this status update I put out. And then I say, oh, like how many people became customers? And they're like, huh? I was like, what percentage of the video did they end up watching? So I think they make that blue boost post button so clickable. And he's right. Like if you're going to spend the money, you have to understand what you're getting out of it so that you know if it's worthwhile or not.
Able to convert that into leads and sales. So you need to be saying, okay, if I run $100 worth of advertising, what's that going to produce in terms of leads? Is it going to produce 10 new email subscribers? Is that going to turn into 1 customer? And what's the average value of the customer? So if you're going to pay for traffic, make sure you can measure it. So that's the paid traffic part, right? It's easy and it's instant because basically you can pull out the credit card, you can go into Facebook.
Yeah, you turn on the faucet, the water starts running. Absolutely. give it money, the ads start showing.
And you can just start driving traffic straight away. The other way to do it, which is talking more about today, is earning traffic. And this is, building tribes on social media. It's getting that.
Don't use the word tribe because it's a problematic word. You can see my Rachel Hollis video if you want to see the explanation, but use something other than tribe to talk about a group of people that have a shared interest.
Authority from Google that, basically you're ranking in Google search engine results. In other words, you're appearing on page 1. And so this is really important to understand that you can earn traffic. The challenge with this, though, is that it takes time. In other words...
And what about links from other websites? That's also earned, right? So like if I don't know, if I wrote a guest post of a blog, and it linked back to me, that would be earned as well, like, because it would be on someone else's website. So yeah, I mean, I guess he's trying to keep it simple, but...
for a lot of websites and blogs, they don't start to get meaningful traffic out of this for 6 to 12 months. And that can be a long time.
I make clients sign a 6-month social media contract for this, not because I am a jerk who wants the money, but because I know it's going to take me time to show results. And if they only gave me a month, we're not going to see results. So yeah, if you ever wonder why I make people sign a 6-month agreement on social, that's why.
So if you've got time but little money, then earned traffic is great. And that's where a lot of us do start, okay? And I had to go and build my Twitter followers, build my tribes on social media, and also earn authority with Google. Now, the goal of paid traffic and earned traffic is to turn it into what is known as owned traffic. Now, owned traffic is your email list, because as we showed that
owned traffic is your website and your email list. It's places on the internet you have control over. And those are kind of the only 2 places. You could say, well, Nicole, I have control over my own Facebook page. Well, if Facebook Facebook could delete your page right now, right? So the only thing you have absolute control over is your email list and your website. And if you go to sell your company, they will look at those assets as being valuable to the company. Yeah, they might look at your social media as being valuable too. But if you only have social media and don't have an email list or a website, your company is going to be a lot less valuable.
As Facebook changes algorithm and the social web is moving away from free to more paid, then you basically got to make sure that you take this traffic that is paid and earned and turn it into traffic that you own. It's your email list. And that's done with a call to action. All right, that's a landing page. You give away something for free. I'm going to touch a little bit on that in a minute. But really important to understand this. So your goal is to turn paid and earned into owned. Because what happens is that paid traffic and earned traffic, they all keep changing the rules. Facebook changes the rules. Google keeps changing the rules. All the social media.
And they cost you either money in the case of paid traffic or time in the case of earned traffic. I'm not saying it doesn't take time to maintain your website, but it probably takes a lot more time for you to update your marketing channels than it does for you to update your website. I'm guessing for most people that's true. But yeah, so it's costing you either time or money to have these things. And yeah, as the rules change, like, it's hard. So you ultimately want to get people to a place where you can control the experience, which is your website and or your email list.
We've heard about Instagram and Twitter moving towards more what Twitter wants to show you, what Instagram wants to show you, not this chronological news feed, which is what Facebook moved away from.
Yeah, the algorithm. So the algorithm is sort of a personalized experience of a website. So whenever I'm hanging out with someone and we're each like on our phones or something, I'll say, oh, what's on your internet? Because I'm kind of curious what the algorithm is showing them. And usually it's something different than what the algorithm is showing me. So if you go on Facebook and scroll and share the 10 things you see with somebody else, they're going to have 10 completely different other things. So yeah, all the social media sites are moving toward algorithms because they want to keep people on the website. And by keeping you on the website, they show you things you're more likely to be interested in based on what you've clicked on, based on what pages you follow, based on what accounts you interact with, stuff like that. So everyone's experience with a particular social media website is different because of the algorithm.
So I want you to really understand how this web traffic landscape really works. So to give you an idea how important organic is, to give you an example, here's a bit of a screenshot which I took a few months ago. Organic search can produce a lot more than social. A lot of people say, well, social media drives so much traffic. Well, in fact, the reality is it drives.
Yeah, it doesn't drive as much traffic as you would think. I think what happens is somebody will follow a company on social media, right? But when I'm ready to buy, what do? I open up Google and type in the name of the company because I'm ready to buy. I don't necessarily, it was like, oh yeah, that Facebook page shared that link with me a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I don't necessarily remember that. I just remember the name of the company or the name of the product, and I type it into a search engine. With most companies I work with, this is, by the way, a screenshot from Google Analytics. Google Analytics is switching to Google Analytics 4, by the way. So I'll link the video I did about Google Analytics 4. It's a pretty big change. If you need help, let us know. Or, there's tons of videos out there about how to make a Google Analytics 4 tracking code and how to install it on your website. But point being, this is from Universal Analytics because obviously this is an older presentation. And for most clients I work with, their organic traffic is between 50 and 90%. Closer to 50% if they have a local business, and closer to 90% if they're like an e-commerce site that does everything online. That's just sort of some trends I've noticed in looking at hundreds of these reports for my mainly small business clients. But about 50% of traffic is organic. And whenever I look at website traffic and organic is really low, it's like 10%. I'm like, ooh, okay, I know where we're going to start, because we want this number to be in that 50 to 90% of traffic if we can.
Over time, organic search engine results can drive 300% more traffic than social. And direct can be from your email. It can be from people, just typing your name directly into their browser. So understand the importance of these different types of traffic sources, and not to be just
yeah. And if you have a really short domain like jeffbullas.com, that's pretty short. It's kind of easy to type that in. TED.com would be pretty short to type in. If you have a much longer domain name, I'm guessing your direct traffic is going to be a little bit lower than this. But I think his direct traffic is relatively high because he has such a short domain. But that's just my 2 cents.
Relying on one source. And I remember a story a couple of years ago that someone was relying just on Facebook for their traffic. And when Facebook changed its rules, guess what? Their traffic dropped by 90%. Pretty scary, isn't it? If we're just relying on one source for most of.
Yeah, you shouldn't rely on one source for anything. Like, you don't put all your money into one stock. You don't invest all your energy into one client if you're, a service business like I am. Like, it's important to diversify in every way, including in your marketing.
Your traffic. So let's have a look at the 5 key strategy. Number 1, social media. And this is where I started to get my traffic from day one. And important to understand how this works. That, social media, it really was a game changer. This web became the social web, has become.
You might be asking yourself, Nicole, you started your blog in 2007 when Facebook was barely a thing and Twitter was barely a thing. How did bloggers get traffic? We did all kinds of crazy stuff to get traffic. First of all, there used to be a blog directory called Technorati, and you could submit your blog to these different blog directories like Technorati. There's other ones too. And you would try to rank up so that if someone was, say, going and looking at cooking blogs, the cooking blog section or the personal finance blog section, that if your blog was higher ranked, they'd be likely to see it and subscribe to it. Also, there was these social bookmarking websites that used to be really big, Delicious, Dig, all that stuff. That was a way to try to get people to kind of share your blog on these sort of link sharing websites. I use one called Pocket right now where I save my links. And the thing with the social bookmarking of Delicious and Dig was that people could see your links. It's almost like if you had the bookmark bar of your, of Google Chrome or whatever browser you use visible to everybody. And you could, tag them and categorize them and all that. So people could kind of judge you based on the resources you were kind of cobbling together, decide to follow you. And obviously in the resources you were curating, you'd throw in a couple of your own links as well. And then the other thing was you had to kind of play well with other bloggers that were in your space, because, you might do things like guest post on their blog and they would guest post on yours. They would get a little, link back to their website from your blog, and maybe some people would go follow you there. But the other thing we used to do, which I think is like the weirdest thing looking back, but worked well, was there was these things called blog carnivals. So what would happen is, there was these websites that would help you organize this. And so like, let's say 2 weeks from now, I'd say, okay, everyone, I'm going to do a blog carnival about TikTok and small businesses using TikTok. So everybody who sees this, if you want to contribute to this, I need you to send me your link by, next Wednesday at noon. And what I'm going to do is aggregate them all together, and, say like, okay. And maybe like, I'm going to sort of like say, here's a bunch of retail businesses and how they're using TikTok. And, okay. And I'm saying, there's a grouping of chefs. Here's a group of chefs and how they're using. So I might take the links that you send me and sort of format them a little bit. And then I share that with everybody who contributed a link, and they're supposed to cross post those same links onto their blogs. So essentially what you're doing is curating links to a bunch of blog posts that are related to one another about the same subject matter or something like that. So there would be a theme, and in agreeing to participate in the theme, people were also agreeing to link back to you in a post aggregating about the same theme. I don't know how well I'm explaining it. I will link. I did a blog about blog carnivals. But essentially, the internet was smaller and we had less tools, but we used the tools we did have. And now we have so many more tools to get traffic, but we're also competing with more things as well. Just wanted to share with you that we did care about traffic in 2007 and 2008. We did do stuff to get it. It's just not the same stuff we do now. So thank you for going down memory lane with me. Let's continue.
The social and mobile web. And social media was this game changer that put the power back in the hands of the blogger. You didn't have to just go and build an email list. You now had means to actually build brand awareness. And you got to understand that the role of social media is not so much to actually make money. It's more about this, what I call top of the funnel, top of mind, brand awareness, where you're not forgotten. People say, I saw Jeff Bullas.
Yes, most people aren't ready to buy right away, right? So like you got to keep in touch with them. So that's what social media allows you to do.
This is blog, or I saw Tom's blog post, and I saw it on Facebook, and guess what? I better go and check Tom because he's got some really good stuff there. So it's important to understand that social media's role in terms of traffic and marketing. And as we mentioned before, this social media free lunch is starting to get harder to actually get for free. So understand that, if you're going to be using Twitter and so on, understand this is could be slowly being taken away from you. So I would encourage all of you to understand that doing this now is important. That's why I've built a Twitter following of nearly 450,000, because for me, looking down the track, I could see that social media was going to change this free.
Diversifying. I'm big on Facebook. You know what? Facebook might not always be a thing. Let me look to other networks. Makes sense.
Lunch rule, okay? Because at the end of the day, they've got to make money out of the platforms. Twitter's got 3,000 employees. Someone's got to pay those wages, guys. So Facebook. Okay, so how can we generate traffic on Facebook?
These graphics are so old school. Just saying. Wow.
I'm just going to touch on some of the top ways, all right? And some of these are, well known, but have a look at how these rules have changed initially with Facebook, moving to pushing you for pay to play. All right, you can see the drop in organic traffic dropped from 12% down to 6% just over a few months. In fact, this number is a lot worse now. So understand that it's being wound back. But how can you do it? Well, make sure that you...
So it looks like this presentation was posted in 2016. But it's referencing numbers from 2013 and 2014. So yeah, this presentation is 8 years old. So So yeah, I guess these the old school views of Facebook will be kind of fun for some of you.
Put your blog posts out on Facebook every time you actually publish.
Yeah.
And use really, great images that are enticing, be interesting. So, and of course, you can see you can boost the post if you want, but I believe a lot of money is being wasted just by people clicking on boost the post.
Me too, Jeff.
So not measuring the effect of it or driving it to a page or actually turning it into own traffic.
Preach, Jeff.
But we can see here that it says it reached 2,567 people and there's 12 people like this. Now, a few years ago, there will be many more likes.
Well, there was 12, 13, 14, technically 15 people.
In this. So this is done in 2015. One I've found that really, really works well and people love sharing allows these little mini infographics. So quite often I share a mini infographic.
Oh, look at that cute infographic. Oh, 2014. You were a different graphic time.
Part of the blog post, it's not just text, and this will tend to get shared a lot. And you can see here, 259 likes, 11 comments, and 107 shares. So this obviously was a very attractive piece of content to share. So the challenge for you as a publisher, whether it's your own blog or your website, is to actually make your content interesting. You've got to say, okay, what is going to get shared? Because the social web is all about sharing, guys. We need to understand that. So it's not just putting it there and hoping it's going to work. It's basically, okay, what types of content is really going to work? Now, this is an oldie but a goodie. It's, the quote.
Oh, look at that graphic.
Quote turn into a visual.
All right, guys, little tips on graphic design that you probably don't need. Number 1, 2 fonts. More fonts is more chaotic. Number 2, high contrast. So a graphic designer friend once told me that if you can render a graphic into black and white and it's still something that you can look at and that's clear, then that's probably well designed. I'm thinking that the blue behind the Seth Godin is not kind of going to be high contrast enough for good readability. And also, I don't know, there's a lot going on here. I don't know who's making these graphics, but
okay. So this one from Seth Godin I put up, and again got shared 33 times, 113 likes. So what you're doing here is you actually just trying to generate that brand awareness. Do not rely upon.
Also, there's no period at the end of the sentence. Marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but about the stories you tell. I think there should be a period there. Anyway.
On this for making money. Okay, I'm telling you right now, this is all about getting traffic to your site and then capturing and building that own traffic that is so important. Running competitions, okay, is a great app called Heyo that runs this, really low-cost app that allows you to capture emails pretty easily. Great app, I'd recommend, and also to run competitions.
There's a lot of rules with social media competitions. Jessica and I did a combined 2 broadcasts about it. I will link to them below in case you want to learn more. But Facebook has like 10 pages of contest rules or competition rules that you need to abide by if you're running one on their platform. And using a competition app is a good way around it. And it's not super expensive. I feel like it's more expensive than I remember it being, but it's definitely under $100 for a month. And the amount of, I guess, potential legal issues or headaches that it will save you, I think is worthwhile. But let's continue.
Now, for me, my secret sauce in social media was I paid a lot of attention to Twitter early on because I noticed that it was able to drive traffic very, very quickly. Simple to use. In fact, that was one of the things that attracted me to Twitter.
The 2 social media sites, well, Facebook is where most of my audience is, honestly. But in terms of driving traffic long-term, Pinterest and Reddit are really good for me. So if you want to drive traffic long-term, check those 2 out.
Simplicity. And when I leapt onto Twitter, I think there's only 5 million users at that time in 2008. I got on December 2008. And I actually discovered the first tweet I put up the other day. And some of you wouldn't get this, but I found out what it was. It's a tool that allows you to go and find the first tweet you did. And it was watching the cricket. Now, for those of you, it's not an insect. It's actually a game played in places as obscure as the UK, England, India, the West Indies, Australia, South Africa. Yeah. So watching the cricket, that was a pretty deep comment, wasn't on Twitter. So I got onto Twitter and discovered that by growing my followers, I could actually get traffic. And 75% of my social media traffic is actually from Twitter. So number one tip here, and I'd encourage all of you, is to learn the art of writing headlines. It is so important because
you've got a limited amount of space to make someone click. If you're wondering what the OW.ly is, there is a social media scheduling software called Hootsuite. Hoot, like what an owl does, and the little icon's an owl. So the Owly is the shortener used by Hootsuite. So he scheduled this ahead of time with social media scheduling software. And Hootsuite was really great. We used it for a few years. I think around this time period, the kind of 2010s, we were using it. We switched to other ones, but it seems like some companies still do use this. So
basically 5 times as many people will read the headline as read the body content. So if your headline is interesting enough that is so tempting they want to read the rest of the article and click on the link, then the headline's done its job. And that's a challenge. And I would recommend to all of you, in terms of getting traffic, is to learn to write the best headlines you can. Experiment and see what works. On Twitter, and also it's been adapted by the other networks now, is to use hashtags. Mm-hmm. And hashtags are really important in terms of putting hashtags. Essentially, it's like a categorization of the tweet. In other words, you might go hashtag social media, and people can put in that hashtag into Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus, and they can find all the content based upon that categorization. So I think of it as like a mini search engine within social media. And
it was also a way to like have conversations over Twitter. So like, let's say that we all wanted to get on Twitter, I don't know, on Friday at 4 and talk about social media strategy. So we might make a hashtag SSS Friday, and I might share that with you and say, hey, if you guys want to talk about social media strategy on Friday, just use this hashtag. And what I would do is I would click on that hashtag and be able to see all the things that different people were saying that were part of this conversation. So it allows you to kind of have like an asynchronous sort of conversation over Twitter or on a subject matter as well. I think some of these Twitter chats are still going on. They're a little bit less popular than they used to be back in the day. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like there's no way that you have room to put in all the different keywords that you would want in the headline. So using the hashtags is a good way to let people know what the tweet's about.
Here's the number. Okay, you can get 200% more engagement with hashtags than without. All right, so and people say, well, how many hashtags should you use? Well, don't agonize too much over this.
Yeah.
2 or 3 is good. I've seen 4 or 5 used.
You can use more than that these days. You can use more than that. Just fill it with hashtags, I say.
Just test and see what works.
Yeah, test. Yep.
The other thing you need to be doing is growing your followers. And for me, this was, marketing 101 when I discovered social media. I said, well, if I've got more followers, that means more people are reading my stuff, which is going to generate more traffic, which is going to get me more attention, which then allows me to capture those important emails. So growing your followers is really important to do. And you can use a tool such as I've got here, Tweepy, which allows you, I'm going to give you a little inside secret here, guys. Okay, if you basically use Tweepy, you can go and check on your competitors, see who their followers are, and those followers are already qualified because they are following your competitor because they're interested in that topic. It might be.
So when I was on my college swim team, one of the things you learn real quick is if you're in a race, you will lose an awful lot of time and momentum if you're looking over at the lane next to you and seeing how the other person is doing. You got to just stay focused. So I don't know, like going and trying to poach clients from my competition. I don't care. Anyway, but I will say like this tool, as you see, the top thing says flush the unfollowers. And you might be like, well, what does that mean? And what people used to do and I feel like they still do, is they'll like follow you on Twitter, Instagram, or whatever. You follow them back, and once they see you've done that, they unfollow you, and then their follower ratio to, to who, so like who they're following versus the amount of followers they have looks higher that way, which makes them feel important. And so what this tool would do is it would go look and see who wasn't following you back, and then you could just unfollow them. Anyway, just in case you're wondering what the unflush is, I just always thought that was funny with this site.
Photography. It might photography blogger. It might be a fashion blogger. It might be, whatever the category is. If you follow their followers, then the human law of reciprocation cuts in. Is like, oh, someone followed me on Twitter. Should I follow them back? So what you do is you get a percentage that follow you back, and they're already a qualified follower because they're interested in the topic, because they're following your competitor in your niche. So understand that growing your followers and using a tool such as Tweepy, and the tool here only costs about, I think, $15 to $20 a month US. Great little tool to actually build your followers.
It was free when I used it, but
you can also automate. I use, basically, a lot of people used to give me a really hard time when I started automating about 5-6 years.
Yeah, I used to use Social Oomph. Basically, when someone would follow you on Twitter, you could kind of auto send them a DM or something. I think that's what this did mostly.
Years ago with social media, I used tools like Social Oomph that allowed me to send out recurring tweets. Is that this saves me 110 hours per month because I don't have to manually tweet. What I'm doing is I'm tweeting out my best posts all the time, trying to let people know here's some interesting content for you to read, and adding value to my readers on social media. And then they discover you. And this can be set on semi-autopilot and save you a lot of time. So, social media is great, but it can be a huge time suck and really, can kill your productivity if you're not careful. All you do is just get sucked into playing on social media channels. There's work to do. So understand that automation, digital marketing automation is becoming the norm now, and it's not that expensive. And I would encourage all of you to consider, automating more and more of your marketing. It doesn't mean you stop being human or having chats or running webinars or running blabs or whatever you want to do, but essentially you've got to be productive.
What I tell people is, if it doesn't matter whether you do it or a robot does it, let a robot do it. So like me making sure things go out, do I have to open it up and copy and paste the thing into Facebook and press post? Does that matter, or is it okay if a robot does it? I'm okay if a robot does that. What I want to save my time for is like commenting on things, interacting on things, answering messages, that kind of thing. So I'm with him here. Automation isn't the dirty word we think it is.
Now, one thing I really discovered was I could drive a lot more traffic if I used visual tweets. Mm-hmm. And Twitter introduced this about 2 years ago. So I discovered that a headline, and you notice a few hashtags there, and then the link. But using this, you can see this got 46 retweets just by using a visual tweet. Now, I can almost guarantee if it was just a straight text tweet, that number would be very, very...
Yeah, it's less noticeable in the feed. I could see that.
Very much lower. So here's an experiment. And we still do these today to see which of our visual tweets work well. We tried this one, which basically got 44 retweets. And then an hour later, we ran another one. It got 22 retweets. Then we ran another one an hour later, and we got 21 retweets. So which one?
But if you do them all at different times, it's hard to tell whether it was the visual or the time that it was posted. Just saying, it's not like you're completely controlling for all factors here.
Do you think we're going to be put into our recurring tweet stream using Social Oomph? We're going to be using basically this one, which got 44. So understand the importance of doing. This is essentially what could be known as AB or ABC.
That script font where it says analytics, mobile marketing, email marketing, all that, that's a font called Pacifica, and it is one of the only script fonts that I like.
He's split testing.
Not that you care, but just say.
We're testing to see which visual tweet worked best. So then we did this one as well.
Yeah, that one's hard to read. There's just a lot of stuff there.
21. So The other one that I experimented with was I was only tweeting every hour or two, and then I decided to say tweet every 30 minutes.
I was only tweeting every hour, 24 tweets a day, and then I tweet every 30 minutes, so 48 tweets a day. That sounds painful.
And then I said, well, why don't I just change it to tweeting every 15 minutes?
What?
And guess what?
Yeah.
It worked.
I'm sure it worked.
And
yeah, I'm sure it worked. I'm sure you got more traffic, but like at what cost to you? Okay, 31% more traffic and 89% more engagement. Like what did that translate to in terms of business outcomes? Because yeah, like if you put out more content, you get more engagement and you get more traffic, but at what cost, right?
One of the big social media measurement platforms measured 15-minute tweets versus 30-minute tweets, and they found increased traffic from Twitter by 31%.
Okay, can you cite your source? You just take graphs from places and not cite your source?
And increased engagement by 89%. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure it does.
Pretty amazing in terms of just doing the 15 minutes, because you've got to think of Twitter as just people dropping in to see Twitter, and typically the average Twitter users are only there for 20 minutes a day. So if you're doing every 30 minutes, they might not see your tweet if they're not scanning it. So tweet often. And it's not about tweeting the same stuff all the time. It's about giving them different. So I set up recurring tweets of evergreen content. And
yeah, okay. Yeah, if you want to do it that way, that's fine. So a couple of years after he recorded this, Twitter, I think, caught on to this. And you can't post the same tweet more than once. You have to rewrite them. So a lot of social media scheduling software, when you're scheduling in Twitter, they'll let you kind of auto-generate some randomized options so that it varies it. And then you can schedule the variants too. Yeah. So if you have time to write 48 different sentences every day, in addition to doing everything else you have to do, good for you. I do not.
I don't repeat tweets except for some of the marketing ones for up to 6 days. And also, one more tip on Twitter is basically I used Twitter feed, which essentially allows me to share other bloggers' content on automation as well. You can see this little bit of a theme of
anything with an RSS feed. It doesn't have to be another blog, but any website with an RSS feed, you can make it automate to share. You can use this tool. I don't know if it still exists, but there's also If This Then That and Zapier.com or Zapier.com, however they pronounce it. I'll link to my video about automation below just to give you an idea of how this generally works, but it doesn't have to be a blog. It could be anything with an RSS feed.
Automation is used where I can because of its time saving it is for me and the team. And what happens is I can actually, as soon as this is an RSS detection feed and now on Twitter feed, and then as soon as Seth Godin or someone publishes a post, bloggers that I trust and trust their content, it will be shared with my Twitter stream. So understand the importance of this. Okay, so Twitter has been one of my secret sources. So you might have detected that both by my attitude and also some of the tactics. Now, LinkedIn can still be a great driver.
Yeah, and I'm really not a Twitter person. Like, I don't mind using it, but it's not my favorite platform. I do wake up every morning and check on the situation with Ukraine and some other stuff. So I use it to kind of check like what's going on right now in a newsy kind of way, but it's not my favorite website to be on, to be completely honest.
Traffic. What do you do here? Well, make sure that people can find your...
This looks like an old picture, Jeff. Just saying.
Sites, whether it's a blog, whether it's your Facebook page, whether it's your website, put in your links into your LinkedIn profile.
And I think you can have more than 3 links now, just saying. So just fill it up, Buttercup.
The other one that can work very, very well is the publishing platform. It's been out a couple of years now. Understand the importance of using this. And I put in a fairly controversial post.
Yeah, LinkedIn is pretty insular. Like, they reward you for using, like, for me, live streaming to LinkedIn, like, it rewards me in that algorithm, or me posting a blog that lives on LinkedIn versus linking back to my website. It seems like LinkedIn really is insular and wants to kind of reward people for using the stuff that's on their platform in particular.
It was in May 5, 2014, so it was 2 years ago. And this was shortly after LinkedIn's publishing platform became available to everyone. And this just went viral. Now,
I had access before everyone else. I had access before everyone else did. Yeah, I wonder why it went viral, why you should forget Facebook when Facebook is the biggest social media platform. Yeah, if you say stuff like that, yeah, people are definitely going to click on it.
Viral is great, guys, but it's more hit and miss. It's, lucky if you get it. But again, you should understand the importance of a great headline, essentially, and then getting that traffic from there. So this blog.
So I love when people post something like this because it's like, okay, so did you delete your Facebook page? Oh no, you're just posting this thing so that everyone can argue with you in the comments and for engagement. Okay.
Blog, this post, which actually I put on my own post, and then I put on my own blog, and then put it actually on LinkedIn as well a few days later. This just exploded on LinkedIn. It was actually the #1 article on LinkedIn for the.
Yeah, because everyone on LinkedIn is on LinkedIn and not on Facebook. They don't like Facebook. LinkedIn is slowly turning into Facebook, which is a whole other story. But yeah, I think if you said why you should forget LinkedIn on LinkedIn, I feel like it wouldn't have gotten nearly as much traction. But okay, so you wrote a blog post about dismissing essentially the largest social media company at that time on LinkedIn, which was relatively small. It's slowly becoming Facebook, but that's another story. And so the people reading it on LinkedIn probably felt very validated that you were telling them that they could sort of forget about the largest social media site on the planet. Right? Was that part of it?
Week globally. So this was maybe just a little bit lucky, but it's also about the headline and also about timing. So, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be trying to hit it out of the park. Just don't rely on viral traffic being your main driver.
Yeah, I love it. I used to have clients be like, well, I want this to go viral. And I felt like saying, I love that you think, A, I have the power to do that at will. And B, you don't think I would have used that power on myself. No one can make you go viral.
Okay. So use the publishing platform. Okay. If you're going to use the publishing platform, link to your website at the bottom. In other words, make it easy for people to find you. Really important. So it's this whole optimization of your digital platforms and your social channels and your email that's important in terms of getting that traffic, because it's all incremental, and then the sum of the whole gets really, really exciting once you start doing this. Okay. So the other one too is you might be putting all your posts from your blog on LinkedIn, but you might want to just basically put updates onto LinkedIn. Share an update, which is one of your blog posts. And we do this as a matter of course for every blog post. So social media, great, but there's more. So search engines. Search engines are really, really important because they give you traffic for free, and we all love free. But it does take time to earn that authority to actually rank high on Google. But there's a few things you can do to accelerate that, and let's have a look at some of them. Okay, understand that you see these emails go out. It used to be happening a lot more a couple of years ago. It's like, buy our service, $99 a month will rank you #1 on Google within 2 weeks or something. And, that basically is snake oil. If it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So,
or either that or they're just buying you an ad. And then, oh, look, you're #1. It's like, yeah, I'm #1 because I'm in the paid spot.
Understand that you need to earn authority with Google. Google's kept refining its algorithm so that it actually you need to keep adapting to this, but they keep changing the algorithms, so they're actually trying to put the best type of content in front of people, because Google's mission is basically to offer quality content to people, not garbage. So Their idea is basically about providing great user experience, providing a really great type of content that does answer the questions that people are now starting and have been using for a while when they put in questions even into Google. So understand that they will keep changing algorithms. So, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could write short blog posts and be easy to rank high in Google. Okay, it's getting tougher now, and Google started putting in, you know, you need to actually put in longer blog posts. So we moved from 300, 400 word blog posts and not doing as many, but doing 1,500, even up to 2,000 to 3,000 word blog posts.
Yeah, and now we want kind of multimedia or rich content like videos and things like that. So yeah, it's always going to change a little bit.
Positions you as an authority in your space. So yes, you can see, I just want to give you an idea of how quickly the algorithms can change. They can go up, they can go down, and suddenly your traffic can drop from 55%, which is about what I get now, down to 45 because Google changed the algorithm, it goes back up again. So referring pages that link to you, the inbound links from other websites that love your content and then point to your site, are known as referring pages. One of the best things you can do is as you start creating content is use 25 to 50 key phrases that you would use as your headline, as the key phrases that you would be using. In other words, could be 10 ways to increase traffic to your blog, right? And you can just start typing that into Google, and Google will come up with the top ranking phrases. So
you can also use a website called answerthepublic.com. You can type in a topic and it will give you a list of questions that people are typing into search engines related to that topic. It could be good not only for finding key phrases, but also for just seeing what topics people want to learn more about and things that you could add to your own blog.
So it can be as easy as that. You don't have to make this too complex. So then you can use some simple plugins by, basically one of the best ones around is Yoast Wordpress Seo by Yoast.
Or if it conflicts with your theme, all-in-one SEO is pretty good. So he's assuming you have a WordPress website, which apparently he does, but I get that you might not have that. But most website software will allow you to customize the page title, the page description, and the keywords for each page. No matter what website building platform you use, there is a way typically to customize this. And what the internet wants to understand is how each page of your website is different from the other pages. So trying to have a unique title and description for each page about what that page is about can help search engines and people figure out whether they should click on your website or not.
What you do is it just guides you to put in the key phrases and where you should be putting them. In other words, in the snippet preview, in the focus keyword, in the title, and then even in the meta description. And these all make it easier for Google to know what you're writing about and then to rank you. So this is something we do before every blog post is published. We actually just do this simple few steps of making sure we're optimizing for search engines.
One time I had a client and their web team wouldn't let me get too far into the website, but I was allowed to basically change the page titles, descriptions, and keywords for their top pages. And they saw a 7% traffic increase over the course of the year. Now, it's not like that was the only thing that they did, so I'm not taking full credit for that, but I do just want to say that it can make a difference, but not, double your traffic. It's going to make an incremental difference. And doing these little kind of tweaks on your website, it might improve things like 2% or 3% or something like that, but add it all together, it all kind of helps. So there isn't one magic bullet, sadly, that's going to fix everything, but these are all little tricks probably he's going to show us that have incremental improvements on things.
Because at the end of the day, as you earn authority, that it will drive 300% more traffic than social. Now, I've got a big social media presence, and the reality is that 55% of my traffic, earned traffic, is from search engines, Google, and
But people are looking for you because they follow you on social media, and when they're ready to be like, oh, that Jeff guy has a podcast, they're going to look it up in Google. So would people be looking you up on search engines as much if you didn't have a social media presence? I'm guessing no. Does it drive direct traffic? Not necessarily, because if I'm on Facebook, like scrolling through, I don't necessarily want to click onto another website from there. Might want to look at it later. So yeah, just saying that. Just because you're not getting direct traffic from social media doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
About 18% is from social. So I looked at my numbers, keep looking at it, and it's that magic.
I think 10% of mine is from social. So, you know, the numbers are just getting lower, I think.
Number of 300% seems to be about right. Now, creating one piece of content on your topic isn't just going to be enough. So I rank quite highly in terms of social media facts. And so I will create regular content, which is known as, I suppose, pillar content around these types of social media facts. So that's a bit about search engine, guys, just to give.
All right, guys. So we're going to pause here and we're going to do the second half of the video, which I think is points 3 and 4 in part 2. But overall, just want to say that this content was all true for 2016. It's funny how much has changed since then. The fact that kind of things have still trended in the direction that he started talking about, which is that social media sites are showing more ads, so it's harder to be seen, that there's more websites out there, so it's getting more competitive for traffic. And so we're doing all of the things he's suggesting, but like, you know, usually more so. So far, I've appreciated the somewhat retro nature of the graphics. So I want to say 2 things before we close out the broadcast, in case you don't watch part 2, but just to kind of keep in mind about Jeff Bullas and people like him. Number 1, Jeff Bullas started his blog in 2009. I started my blog in 2007. This time period was the easiest time to start a blog. It just was. There wasn't a lot of different social media sites for people to be on. People wanted to consume content, and there wasn't a lot of websites or a lot of people producing it. So even my little tiny personal finance blog, which, by the way, I started in 2007, before the 2008 financial crisis, which obviously I didn't know was coming, but I had a few hundred readers of this blog regularly at that time. I don't think I have as many blog readers now. That's okay. Things have just changed. But I just want to acknowledge, if you're starting a blog in 2022 or, you know, 2023 or whenever you're watching this, and you're having a harder time getting readers, I just want to let you know that starting your blog at the golden age of blogging makes getting readers easier. The second thing I will say about Jeff Bullas is that his full-time job is creating content. And I don't know, when he's presenting this information, if he's speaking to fellow content creators and marketers, or if he's speaking to small business owners who are just trying to use maybe a blog as a tool to get people to their website. But the reality is if you have a business to run, if you own an auto mechanic shop, if you have a retail store, if you have something that you do that isn't producing content for a living, the reality is that you probably can't tweet 48 times a day. And if you do, your business is going to suffer, because you have to fix people's cars or write people's estimates or, get people scheduled to bring their cars in or whatever. Like, just thinking of auto repair. I'm like, there's all these different things you need to do to run your business. And if content creation is not your full-time job, you cannot treat it like your full-time job. So don't let the pressure of some of these people make you feel like you need to. Okay? It's just not realistic. And there is something, though, between doing nothing and tweeting 48 times a day. And what you have to figure out is what that balance is for you by trying different things, but by not getting all consumed by all of these different things. Diversify, yes, by all means, but run your business too. So thanks so much for watching. If you have a guru or even a specific video or podcast or whatever you'd like me to react to, feel free to leave it as a comment on this video, or if you're more shy, you can use the contact form of the website to send it to me there. Have a great rest of your day, and see you next time for part 2 or any of the other Nicole Reacts series. I hope you do stick around and subscribe so that you can see all of those, and check out the Nicole Reacts playlist if you want to see past episodes. See you soon.